Hello everyone, I'm currently Kevin, and in this video series I'll show you the best way to get 10 wins with Pygmalion. Pig is probably the strongest hero right now. The bongs hit Dooley and Vanessa really hard, and the new expansion has some great items that give Pig more consistency with the builds and items he already wanted to use. However, Pig is probably the hardest hero to play, so I wanted to make a guide that will make Pig as easy and straightforward as possible. First, I want to talk about the early game. Golden Income or Enchanted Item are both really good. Just pick whichever one you are more comfortable with. After that, there are two main ways to play the early game. One, with a focus on full sustain with items such as Bushel, Silk, Robe, Ganjo and or Pickle Protector. This is more of a setup for a Silk mid and late game. If you don't have a Silk to skill, you should probably focus on the other build since it's a lot harder to transition out of this build. Now the second build is the more weapon focused build. This really wants Showcase, but Lumbors and Ganjo can do the job until you get a Showcase. Showcase buffs shield items and weapons if you have 3 of them on the board. So use damage and shield items like Pickle Launcher, Tusk Helm and Spike Shields, and then adding in whatever items you need to get those 3 shield items and 3 weapons. You usually want something like a Yo-Yo, Halady, Ring King Gauntlet or Wrist Warrior for your weapons. And then for the shield item, Pickle Protector is best, but you might just have to make do with any random shield item to activate the shield portion of the Showcase. Now out of these starts, the Showcase start is preferred, but if you got an early Silk, you probably can't also do a Showcase build. And Silk is really strong as long as you have a Spiked Shield, Crusher or Force Field, so it's perfectly acceptable to not go for the strongest day 1 to 3 board in order to skill the Silk for the mid and the late game. I'll talk about how to get Silk and the support items in the shops and monster section. The reason we prefer Showcase is it goes into multiple fantastic weapon based mid and late games for Pig. I've analyzed about 40 games of the top players, and as you can see, most of the end builds are weapon based builds. All of these will pretty much use the Showcase build as a jumping off point. Having a solid base as soon as you get your build around item, so you don't lose days while trying to transition, which is a death sentence on your road to 10 wins. As you can see, Drum is the ideal transition, but I'll talk about that in part 2. First, let me talk about the mid game, which tends to be between day 4 and 7. If you went Silk early, you are probably fielding Silk at this point, while scaling it with any of the economy items and picking up almost every event that gives you chocolates or spare change. Now don't try and force Silk if you don't pick it up on day 1 or 2. Silk builds are pretty straightforward and very comfortable to play. Just focus on upgrading Silk and getting a solid engine going. Money Tree is fantastic to get early because it gives you spare chains, but it also gets value from the spare chains, so you can sell it once you run out of money to buy whatever you need. Or fielding it if you get any of these skills. Tall buildings, prime real estate, flanking criticals, reserve shields, or trickle down economics from Awakened District. Gumball Machine is probably the best case scenario if you have the gold for it, since it generates items for Silk every single hour, while also increasing your crit chance, health and shields. Combine that with something like a lemonade stand for health, or a pawn shop for gold and you are set. If you went the Showcase build however, it's a lot more tricky and less straightforward. You're basically trying to make the strongest board every single day, while looking for a direction to take your build in. General good pickups are Yo-Yo, Bat Blocker, Pen FT, Wrist Warrior, Model Ship and Speedrunner. Then for build direction, you're looking for Display Case, Sponsored Apparel, Jabalion Drum and 24-hour Fitness. If you plan on using Display Case or Bat Blocker, do try and scale the value of your items using any of these, or rely on Pen FT to increase the value of your items mid-fight. Now with this build you also want to pick up econ and health scaling items along the way, otherwise you're not really taking advantage of Pygmalion's biggest strength. What shops do you want to go? The most high priority shops always depend on what build you are and what you need. But as a general guideline, for Silk you want to go Mythal, Barcoon or Kina on day 1, which will give you the best chance of getting a Silk or a Silk upgrade. You want to try and get a Silk to Silver very early, otherwise your mid game will be really difficult. Spiky Shield can also be found at middle and Barcoon or Ayla. Curio is also good as it can give you a Crusher Claw. In the mid game your highest priority shops are Gassio for your Silk upgrade, Rocket Boots and the various crit items. Also Kev's Armory, which can give you Silk, Gumball Machine, Fort and any max health items. Prospero is also good for the various economy items so you can keep feeding your Silk. Beyond shops you also want to pick up basically any event that gives you chocolates or spare change. The only shops that tend to beat this are Gassio and Kev's Armory if you still need a Silk upgrade. For the Showcase build you have a lot of different items to pick up, so there are plenty of shops that are useful. First however you do want Showcase, Ganjo or Lumbors, and Pickle Launcher is great too. So Mythal and Barcoon are your best bets early, while Ande and Ayla are really good for your weapons and your support items. If you need both, you can even go Quixel, which is normally too random because she has lots of items, but because there are so many good small and medium items, you'll probably pick up something. For the mid game, the best shops are Pole for Drum or Fitness, and either Orion for great chance for display case, or Casio for sponsored apparel, or Mittel for both. What monster should you fight? First off, always try to get a boomerang, specifically a silver or higher one, so you can get feathers, insect wings, and vial of blood. Those 3 plus Eagle Talisman can make the difference between 10 and 7 wins. Silk has great day 1 and 2 monsters with Haunted Kimono and Coconut Crab, giving Silk and Crusher Claw. These give a pretty reliable way to get Silk and one of the payoff items, which makes Silk pretty consistent. Next up, you want to go for Aetheryte for Rigged and Force Field, Kyver Commander for Counter Strike and Insect Wings, Rocket Trooper for Rocket Boots since you want to do anything to speed up your Silk and your payoff item, Sergeant Suds for Rivet Gun can be really good to get your Spiky Shield and Silk to go off at the same time, Car Conductor for Captain's Wheel for the same reason as the Rocket Boots, Awakened District for trickle-down economics combined with something like a money tree is amazing, and last but certainly not least, Lord Arkan for Eclipse, which if you get it, you basically win. As you can see, you're basically looking for any sort of cooldown reduction, haste or charge. You do want to be really careful for skills and items that randomly haste or charge items, as this can desync your Silk and Spiky Shield, which will ruin your game plan. For the other builds, there aren't really a ton of monsters that you always need to fight. What you want to fight really depends on the style of build you're going for, but there's still a couple of general good ones. Diamond Fangs from Sabertooth can be insane. Dire Inglet with Aggressive is usually pretty good because you're going for fast charging weapons like Yo-Yo. Sergeant Suds for Rivet Gun can help you trigger loops and get Bad Blocker to go off earlier. Elite Duelist with Big Ego can be a lifesaver against poison. And lastly, Lord of the Waste is incredible for Pendulum, giving you tons of opportunities for infinite loops. Now in the next video, I'll talk about some of the late game builds themselves and how to put them together. If you liked or disliked this video, tell me about it in the comments. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.